2 Samuel. I'm going to start. There's a few verses I missed. I might go back, but I really want to get somewhere tonight before the business meeting. 2 Samuel chapter 13. The last few weeks should have been really kind of eye-opening as to how serious sin is and to how things can go bad pretty quick and how that sin always pays out, and even when you think you've got away with it. The problem has been from the beginning, from a long time that we've been speaking about David, is he tried to go against the rules. The rule was, if you were a king, you weren't meant to multiply your wife or horses so that you would have no distractions, you would trust in the Lord, you would follow him. Well, by the time we get to chapter 13, he's got 8 wives. Yeah, get you some of that. How many people want 8 wives? Don't answer that. 8 wives. I mean, I wouldn't even remember all their names, but especially with these names, these are some wild names. So he marries Michal, the first Saul's daughter. She has no children. And then his first son is Amnon, who Ahinoam, or however you pronounce that, his first son is called Amnon. And you're going to see, and Tamar was born of Maacah, and Absalom was her brother. And so we think that Tamar is David's only daughter. And he married Maacah, or however you say that. And with her, he had Absalom and Tamar. And so his first son is Amnon, and then he has these later on, he has these other children. And it says, David's son Absalom had a beautiful sister named Tamar. So Absalom and Tamar have the same mother. David is their father. Amnon has a different mother, but David is his father. David's son Absalom had a beautiful sister named Tamar. Remember what Nathan has said. You won't die, but your son will. And the sword will never leave from your household. David has took on way more than he ever expected. Like when you look back, if he had just stopped, we keep saying that, but even tonight as we read this story, it's a really hard story to teach. It's a really hard story to kind of get your mind around. But even throughout all of this, the main word again is just stop. Just stop. And they won't. Amnon, her half-brother, so the same father, different mother, fell desperately in love with her. Okay, this is kind of weird. Your half-sister and you're in love with her. Leviticus 18:9 prohibits doing that. Leviticus 18:9 prohibits you messing around with your half-sister. All right, so they have David as their father, different mothers, and Tamar is beautiful, and Amnon, her half-brother, fell desperately in love with her. Well, what you'll find is that really isn't love, it's lust. All right, so she's his half-sister. You're not allowed to do it. It's kind of a weird thing to do. So you see how the devil gets that, right? The devil wants you to do anything you're not allowed to do. The devil wants to push any kind of emotion, any kind of agenda that goes against God. And the key to all of it, the key for us, is to be content. Because God has said you may not do this, you have to be content, and you realize that he can work all of that out. But Amnon, and what we'll find out, part of the problem is that Amnon has been dealing with this lust, and nobody seems to be calling him out. And that's a real danger even in churches today. You can see problems in people, but no one wants to call it out for whatever reason. And the downside of that is that when it comes out, it's disastrous. Like Amnon has this battle of lust, and it's going to come out, and it's going to come out bad. But I can show you tonight that at least Absalom knew what his brother was dealing with, his half-brother. And for whatever reason, they didn't approach it. And here's one of the fundamental lessons of tonight. Be careful what position you put yourself in as a parent. David is going to watch his children sexually go crazy. He's going to watch Absalom kill his half-brother. So sexual stuff and murder. Well, guess where they learned that from? You see, David is in the same boat. You see, whatever you do, whatever you practice, it's really hard to tell your kid. Don't do that. Now, they can't get to heaven and say, well, Dad did it. That's not how that works. But you lose a lot of leverage. You lose a lot of clout when it's almost like when you read these stories, David couldn't intervene because he knew what would happen. How do you give your son a lecture on sexual holiness? Dad, you remember Bathsheba? You've got 8 wives and concubines. David has messed it up to the point of no one can challenge him. He can't challenge anyone because and Absalom is going to retaliate by killing his half-brother. And that's what the Lord said. There's going to be trouble now for in your whole household. And so you have this guy, Amnon. And by the way, this is tragic. You know what was in line for the first son, don't you? Yeah, he was the king. He was a prince in waiting. Amnon was his first son. Michal, she couldn't have children, remember? And she ran away, and then he got her back, and she couldn't have kids. And so he marries Ahinoam, and she gives him Amnon, their first son. And instead of being this king in waiting, he becomes this despicable, terrible character. And Amnon has this lust going on, and it's not just normal lust, it's lust for his half-sister. And it says, Amnon, verse 2, became so obsessed with Tamar that he became ill. In other words, he got so wrapped up mentally and emotionally, wanting something he couldn't have. It's like he went to bed thinking about her. He woke up thinking about her, and all he could think about was this lustful quest of his half-sister. David has fallen to lust, but it seems like him and Bathsheba happened pretty quick. Amnon is going to bed thinking about it. And see, that's where, again, in order to stop that, you have to get on your knees and pray, God, deliver me from this. Like, stop this. Like, I can't think like this. Like, I need help. Now, he gets obsessed with her, and all he can think about is sleeping with his half-sister. She was a virgin, and Amnon thought he could never have her. Oh, man, that is the devil's playground, right? That which God forbids, all of a sudden the devil plays on that, and that's what we want. It's like if God said to you, you can do 99 things, but not this one thing, guess what your flesh would want to do? Like, we're just born that way. I've talked about it before. If your parents left and said, you can go in every room, but do not go in that room, I guarantee you within 2 minutes you're in that room. Curiosity gets us. And so his mind, his spirit, his heart is all gone. She was a virgin. And he thought he could never have her. Be careful who you hang out with. Jonadab was David's brother's son, Shemaiah. David had a brother, and he had a son called Jonadab. When you have, and here's where we got to get a bit better together. I'm not sure how many people are comfortable with someone coming up onto them on a Sunday morning saying, I'm full of lust, help me. It'll freak you out, right? But if they can't get help here, where are they going to get help? And how many people feel comfortable going up to someone in our church and saying, man, lust is killing me and I got a problem. I know I can't tell them that. Well, then where are you going to tell it? Amnon is way off in left field. Like, he's gone. He needs somebody to help him. David, again, it's kind of hard for David to minister to him because all he's going to say is, yeah, thanks for your advice. Amnon, listen to what the Bible said, had a very crafty friend, his cousin, Jonadab. You already know the Bible. How would you like to be introduced as a very crafty friend? I mean, that's your epitaph. That's your great biblical. I'm in the Bible. What you under? A very crafty friend. Awesome. We've all got those people though, right? And the flesh is like attracted to the wrong thing, isn't it? Like the Holy Spirit attracts you to the right things, but your flesh attracts you to the wrong things. Like your emotion, your flesh, is not a good indicator of what you should be doing. And Jonadab said to Amnon, verse 3, Amnon had a very crafty friend, his cousin Jonadab. He was a son of David's brother Shemaiah. One day Jonadab said to Amnon, what's the trouble? Why should the son of a king, think about this, why should the heir in waiting look so dejected? What does he say? Morning after morning. So Amnon has been depressed, discouraged, defeated, because he cannot stop thinking about what he wants to do. It's taken his mind, it's taken his life, and his body may be showing signs of it, but his inner man has gone. It's wrecked. And by the way, you might think you're hiding that, and that's a sad thing, right? We try so hard to hide sins that we don't want to talk about, and yet most of the time it's obvious. Like if you're paralytic with lust like this guy, you wouldn't have, ladies are pretty good at picking that stuff up. I'm pretty sure if Amnon came in tonight and started talking to you, you'd be like, this guy's scaring me a little. I'm not, but you've met people like that, right? They look at you a certain way, or they touch you in a certain way, or they speak to you in a certain way. You're like, man, this guy's weird. Maybe it's women. Women can be weird too, but we'll move on. But morning after morning, and his cousin comes and says, what's the deal? What's wrong with you? I'm in love, which is a lie. He's not really in love. I'm in love with Tamar. And listen to what he says. Catch what he says. Hold on. This is when you know you're wrong. He can't even say. Look what he says. I'm in love with Tamar. Straight away, Jonadab should be like, what? Dude. Yeah, that's your half sister. Don't be weird. Look at what he says. I'm in love with Tamar. What does he say next? My brother Absalom's sister. Hold on. Your brother's sister. You mean your sister? He can't even say it. He can't even verbally say, I'm in love with my sister. So he says, I'm in love with my brother's sister. It's funny, but do you see? You can't even admit to yourself how sick you are. He couldn't even verbalize how messed up it sounded to say, I'm in love with my sister. He said, I'm in love with my brother's sister. Well, Absalom is his half-brother, so it's technically correct, but you see what he's doing, right? If you can't verbalize something, it's like Tasha, I don't know why she teaches me this, but she said to me, because sometimes I'll ask her, do you think that's wrong? And you know what she always tells me? If you have to ask me if it's wrong, it probably is. I'm not asking you that again. So if I come and ask you, is it wrong? It's because I've bypassed her and wanting you to give me a different answer. But this dude, this is David's brother's son. This is all in the family. Instead of rebuking him and saying, well, Jonadab said, I'll tell you what to do. So instead of rebuking him, instead of saying this is going to go bad, he's like, hey, I've got a plan for you. How messed up is this guy? It's almost like Amnon tells him, he's like, oh, this is what you do. Like, what kind of weird guy is it? Like, he had a plan straight away. He's like, I tell you what to do. Go back to bed and pretend you are ill. When your father comes to see you, ask him to let Tamar come and prepare some food for you. All right. So the plan is, you act ill, go to your bed, and tell your half-sister that you need her to look after you. Tell him you'll feel better if she prepares it as you watch and feeds you with her own hands. I mean, this has got weird written all over it, right? Not only do you have to bring me food, I want you to watch it. I want to be able to watch you do it, and I want you to feed me with your own hands. I mean, sometimes you can kind of see where this is going, right? Even if you don't know what's coming, you kind of... And so, verse 6, he does. He lays down and pretends to be sick. And when the king came to see him, who's that? David. Amnon asked him, please let my sister Tamar come and cook my favorite dish as I watch. Then I can eat it from her own hands. You think David thought this was a good idea? What does he have to do, though? He's basically put himself in the place. What's he going to say? And he lets it happen. See, this is part of the tracks of sin that you never think about when you're in it. David now is watching his decisions lead to all kinds of crazy stuff. David should have told it, I mean, this is just weird, getting your sister to make you food and watch you and come on. David agreed, and he sent Tamar to Amnon's house. How much regret do you think David has of that? When you're the one that sent your daughter to the house, I'm not saying it's David's fault, but I bet he wishes he could take that decision back. I don't know. You'd hope, but he couldn't say anything. Apparently Tamar didn't know what was going on either. But Amnon did. He was sly. He had asked Jonadab. When Tamar arrived at verse 8 at Amnon's house, she went to the place where he was lying down so he could watch her mix some dough. She baked his favorite dish for him, but when she set the serving tray before him, he refused to eat. The food is just a decoy. He couldn't care any less about the food. He's not interested in the food. He just wants to get with Tamar. And here's the problem. And here's why Israel in the first place didn't want a human king. Because they have a human king, this kind of nonsense happens. If they kept God as their king, you know what doesn't happen? All this mess. And because there's this monarchy and this thing, you have to kind of play the game. You have to, and that's what God told them. Remember, if you take a king, you don't really want to take a king, and this is why. And what did they reply? Oh, we want a king. All right. I done told you don't want a king, but you want a king? Have it. All the problem is, and I get it, that there's this idea of the king and you don't mess with the king, and especially the king's firstborn son, etc., etc. But then he says, everyone get out of here. Don't you wish someone had said something? Don't you wish someone had been bold enough to be like, man, what are we doing? Why are we all getting out of here? Like when you say to everyone, get out of here, there's a reason. You don't just randomly, I mean, if I came in tonight and said, everyone get out of here, I don't know what would happen. I should try that one week. But you'd walk out thinking that was weird. I wonder who would stay and be like, I'm not moving. All right, well. He says to them, you know why he's telling them, here's the problem. Here's what you have to understand. Why does he, when you don't want people around you seeing what you're about to do, that's a clear indication that you're what? That you're doing something wrong. And here's the problem. You can remove everything. You can remove the cameras from your house. You can do everything sly. You can do whatever you want. But you know who you'll never stop from seeing? So he can remove all the barriers. He can remove all the people. He can do whatever he wants. But God's going to see everything. And he wants people out, not so that he can kind of rid himself of that, and so that he can do what he really wants to do. And all the way along, you just keep thinking the same thing. Would you just please stop? I mean, right now it's been weird, but if he stops now, I mean, if he says, whoa, 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 stop, he'd be all right. I mean, he's been weird. But imagine if he's like, look, I'm so sorry. I had this stupid plan. I mean, God can get you there. God can, and how many, let's be honest, how much do you think God is like, and God's seen it all. God's foresaw it all. He's already told David. Verse 9, she set the serving tray before him. He refused to eat. Everyone get out of here, Amnon told his servants. And so they all what? They all left. Then he said to Tamar, now bring the food into my bedroom and feed it to me here. This is like red flag central, right? Bring the food into my bedroom and feed it to me here. So Tamar took his favorite dish to him. You remember Joseph? Totally the opposite reaction. Here's what you have to believe, and in believing it, you rid yourself of all excuses. No matter what you face, no matter how much lust tries to get you, no matter what is happening in your life, if you're a Christian, you don't have to sin. Joseph, Potiphar's wife, what did he do? He ran away, and in running away, he got himself a rape charge. A couple years in prison. Because he did the right thing. Adam and Eve didn't have to fall, they did. What I'm telling you is, we have to understand that you can't play the, well, I just couldn't help myself. Well, hold on, with God you can, right? But there's got to be a system in place, and I don't know what that is, I'm trying to figure that out. There's got to be a system in place where we can help one another with this stuff. And I'm not trying to be funny, but what happens if someone comes and says that? I mean, what happens if I call a deacon's meeting and say, lust is all over me and I'm really wanting to do something? I lose my job? What? I mean, what happens at that point? We've got to be able to look at what, and maybe there's trust in that. I wouldn't just go up and tell anybody that. But there's got to be some way of communicating to each other, I'm in trouble. Well, prayers are 100%. But I don't know that God just intended you to deal with it all on your own. And if you can't speak to people, look, the problem is you've been burnt before. That's part of the problem. Church people will burn you. People will. Or you've seen it done to others, yeah. But look, if you can't tell someone in your family what is going on in your life, then who do you turn to? Well, it is what you're for, but like if you don't know that's going on, you know what happens? Eventually it's going to come out. Right? Eventually but I think part of the guard for our church is seeing people getting there and being strong enough to say, you got a problem. Whether they admit it, whether they see it, but trying to cut it off at the pass rather than, oh, it's none of my business. Well, hold on. If we could stop this, right? And it says, as she was feeding him, he what? He grabbed her. And he demanded, come to bed with, now he says it. He's so far gone. Come to bed with me, my darling sister. Someone turned to, I was speaking about on Sunday, we've quoted it before, but someone turned to Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16 a minute. And 16 verse 16 through 19. Proverbs 16 verse 16 through 19. When someone's got it, let me know and I'll let you read it. Proverbs 16, 16 through 19. It's going to tell you the 7 things the Lord hates And check how many of those things are in this story. Someone? Anybody? Proverbs? Psalms? Proverbs? Okay, I gave you the wrong verses. That's not your fault. I don't know what I did. So, man, hold on. I'm going to fire my secretary. 6:16. Well, why did I put 16:16? Read 6:16 for me, Anne. 6:16. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. Man, who writes these sermons? I'm paying a guy good to write these sermons. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. ChatGTP for the fail. Yeah, I'm just kidding. All right. Proverbs 6. Yeah. Proverbs 6:16 through 19. Eh? There you go. Okay, so hold on. Amnon has nailed all of them. Everything the Lord hates, this dude is doing. It's a pretty rough situation. Look at what it says. The 7 things the Lord hates. Haughty eyes, that's Amnon, right? A lying tongue. Hands that kill the innocent, that's going to come out of it with Absalom. A heart that plots evil, feet that race to do wrong, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who sows discord in the family. Well, congratulations, Amnon, you've hit all of them. But in this story, all of them are hit. Unbelievable. And by the way, if the Lord hates those things, what do you think happens when you partake in them? Nothing good. Go back to 2 Samuel and look at what it says. Come to bed with me, my darling sister. Verse 12. No, my brother, she cried. Man, you ever look back and God is speaking to you and you know it and you ignore it? Like when you get ahead of yourself, when lust is there, when greed is there, when pride is... I've joked about it before, but you've been in an argument and you know to stop, right? You know to stop. You know you've said something you shouldn't. And you know it. And the smart thing to do is what? Stop and what? Stop, shut up, and repent. Seems like we've all been there, huh? Yeah. Just stop and say sorry. But instead of that, it becomes, you see, when you jab at someone, what do? And so now I've got to jab you harder. And before too long, how did we get here? And all the way along, the Holy Spirit's been like, just stop it. Just stop. Oh, I can't stop. Yes, you can. And you know what the biggest lie is? Well, I've gone this far, I might as well what? He's asked his own sister to go to bed with him. Even then, he could sit and say, just stop. And look at what she says. She's overpowered. It's not her fault. She's overpowered. He grabs her and he makes a demand. And it says, no, first of all, she says, no, my what? Okay, so that's kind of, you're my brother. Hello? And don't be what? Okay. Do you not think that's the Lord telling him that? And hold on, what's his foolishness going to get him? Death. This is going to cost him. Because he'll do this, he's going to die. And you know what the Lord does to protect him from dying? Nothing. He's already told David, because you started this, the sword will never depart from your family, because God could see ahead. Can you imagine God saying to you, don't be foolish, and you look at him saying, when God says it's foolish, guess what? You see, you think you can work it out, it'll be fine. What's the worst that can happen? Well, you know what the worst that can happen is? A couple of years from now, your own brother's going to kill you. She cries to him, don't be foolish. I don't know how, like you can try and imagine the look she gave him and the depth of depravity and the scream of, please stop, stop. Don't be foolish. Don't do this. God's against it. Don't do this to me. And then she said something amazing. Stop, you my brother. Don't be a fool. Don't do this to me. Like, I don't deserve this. This is not how you... And by the way, it's a hard sell to say I'm in love with you and then do this. I mean, that we gotta listen, we gotta remind especially younger girls in this generation, that because they say I love you doesn't mean they do. And really loving someone means you'll wait. Like, that's what culture does, right? I love you. And you know what happens here? Happens all the time. I want you until I what? Until I got you. And now I got you, I don't need you anymore. Man, it's all over our culture, right? They'll get you flowers, they'll buy you chocolates, they'll take you out, and it's all to get what they want. And as soon as you give it, it's been happening for this. Look, and that's what's really annoying. The devil is running the same plays he ran back here. And you know what we do? We read them, we know about them, and we're stupid enough to fall for his tricks still. It's written down. Like his playbook is right here. His playbook is right here, and we look at him, ooh, and man. And look at what she says. This is not done where? These things aren't, these wicked things. Don't be a fool, this is wicked. This is wicked. And we don't do wicked things in Israel. Why? Why don't we do wicked things in Israel? Yeah, because we're God's people, we're God's children. Do you see how powerful that is if we're strong enough to say that? Hey, at Lawrence Drive, because we follow Jesus, we don't do stuff like that. We don't do those wicked things here like that. That's not what we do. Because we follow Jesus. Israel was separate. Israel was meant to show off God. And she says to him, you know who does these things? The Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Jebusites, all the ites, they do those things. You know what we don't do? And this is why the devil attacks it. One of the strongest indications of power and the Holy Spirit is sexual holiness. Like, if we have a church who is sexually holy, how in God's green earth does that happen? Only by the Spirit. And that is the difference that whilst we're doing what the world does, they don't get it. Israel was to be separate. Israel wasn't to do these things because that's what lost people do. Israel was to treat God differently, to treat each other differently so that they could see the power of God. And here's David's own firstborn son. And she looks at him and says, we don't do that in Israel. We don't do that here. That's wicked. I know it's her saying that, but I believe this is the Spirit of God speaking to him. That's wicked. You don't do that. Think about how foolish is this. Think about the testimony of the Lord. And then look at what she says. Where could I go in my shame? Look at what she's saying. How would I recover from that? How do I live knowing that this happened? Where could I go? And it would be a great shame on our family A great shame on me, a great shame on you, a great shame on the king, a great shame on, like, the testimony of God. This would be a great shame to everybody. And whilst we may not have gone this far, sometimes when we're so het up in our own sin, our own agenda, we don't care about the shame it brings. Like, you can't tell me you don't know people who have brought shame on the church and didn't care about it. Happens all the time. Not here necessarily, but it's happened. It happens everywhere. You're so head up on what you want, you don't care about the shame it brings us. You don't care about the shame it brings your family. I mean, this is pretty rank. This is really bad, but we do lesser things, right? And she says, where would I go? She's this beautiful lady who wears it. You know what's crazy? She's a virgin, she's beautiful, and she wears these dresses. These dresses where you don't work in the dresses because she's the king's daughter. And she's ready to meet somebody who's going to love. She didn't work. Everything was given to her. Like, she's treated right. And he's going to take something from her. Look at what it says. And she... You ever notice that God sometimes repeats himself to you? She said earlier, this would be foolish. What does she say now? Her words are 100% correct. You would be called one of the greatest fools in Israel. And you know what? Who one of the greatest fools in Israel is? Him. Have you ever been that arrogant, that ignorant, where someone, even your parents have said that would be foolish, and you're like, well, I'm going to do it. Go ahead. Go ahead. And you know what's really difficult when you found out to be foolish? Then it's really hard to come back and say what? So instead of coming back and saying, you were right and I am a fool, what do? Yeah, we tried to hide it, or we just keep on being. So now we've gone from this much of a fool to that. I mean, it just escalates, right? Again, because we won't stop and we won't admit and we won't say I was foolish. Even in that, you see, even in that. Have you been foolish? Well, we all make mistakes. You see, the way, what you're willing to say kind of shows you where you're at, right? Like if someone says to Amnon, are you a fool? What do you think he's going to say? I think he would say anything to you apart from, I am a fool. Well, look at them, they're fools. No, that's not the question. Are you a fool? I don't think he'd give you a straight answer. Look what happens. You'd be one of the greatest fools in Israel. Now, this is desperation, and I don't think she says, please just speak to the king about it and he will let you marry me. Now, this is really interesting what David would do at that point. But surely, at that maybe he does have I think, and most commentators think, she's just trying to delay it. She's just trying to get out of there. Because if he has to go back and ask David or speak to David, maybe, right? I think she's just trying to get out of the situation. I don't think she really wants to marry a half-brother. Just speak to the king about it and he'll let you marry me. And here it is. Verse 14, what does it say? But Amnon wouldn't listen to what? Really? He wouldn't listen to who? To God. And I'm telling you, that's our testimony all over this house tonight. I didn't listen. I didn't listen to the Lord. He told me. I don't know about you, but the sins I've committed that I didn't have to because the Lord told me before, don't do it. Even you ever thought about saying something and the Lord's like, don't say it. And you're like, but it's funny. Maybe this is just me. Don't say it. Oh, I'm going to say it. Don't say it. All right, I won't say it. And then Larry says something else. I'm like, oh, I'm saying it now. And as soon as you say it, the Spirit's like, You know what? When the Spirit of God has told me don't say it and I've said it, I've never felt good about it. But there's moments where you stop and you don't, and you go home like, man, that was awesome. You stopped me from, I was shaking and I turned blue, but I didn't say it. Now I thought it. But you don't have to. Amnon wouldn't listen to her. Why? Because his body was riled with lust to the nth degree. Sin gives birth to death, right? And he's gone. And since he was stronger than she was, he raped her. The Bible doesn't color around it. That's what he did, his half-sister. And this is the devil's game plan. And if you can figure this out, maybe we won't be as attracted to the slides of his lies and his ways. If we're honest tonight, we've all fallen for this. How many of us have been filled with lust or greed or animosity or bitterness or whatever? And we just kept thinking, if I could just do this, I'll be fine. And the moment you do it, it's 50,000 times worse. This is what the devil does. He fills you with lust. He tries to fill you with lust, and then you express it. And in that moment, look at what the Bible, this is really crazy. He got what he wanted, and suddenly, lust turned to what? Okay. He lusted. Day after day after day. He finally got what he thought he wanted. And then what happens to him? Yeah, he tells her to look, but what is he filled with now? Okay, now think about this. Why? Well, it wasn't love to start with, correct? But why is it hate now? How come lust and, ooh, you're my darling sister, turned to I hate your guts to the nth degree? How? Yes, guilt. And when you have done something wrong, when you have done something wrong to somebody, and you know it and they know it, how comfortable around them are you? Every time now he looked at her, he would be reminded of what? How awful a person he really was. How does he ever look at Tamar again and not realize that was really, really bad? And all of a sudden he looks and he says, the Bible says he hates her. He hates her even, that lust was strong, right? That lust was strong. But the Bible says it turned to hate, and he hated her even more than he loved her. And he looks at her and says what? Get out. Because the people you've showed yourself to, you don't want to be around. And he tells her, get out. Here's the deal. She can get out, but you know who's still right there? God is. You can close the door and act like it didn't happen, but God's watching. You can cover your tracks, but God's watching. And look what happens. He tells her to just get out. This is really bad. No care for her, no nothing. Just get out. This is what the devil does. This is what the devil does. He uses people as pawns. He gets what he wants, and then he what? This is kind of what's going to be in the lake of fire, right? These desires for lust and all of that can't be fulfilled, and it's just this gnashing of teeth and this. And no, but you know what? Can you imagine how many crimes are represented in the lake of fire? How much hurt? How much bitterness? How many problems? And you know what? One word will never be spoken in hell. sorry. Never once will the devil look at you and say, that was rough. I apologize. Can you imagine looking staring at the devil and saying, you took everything, like I lost everything? And him not just not apologizing, laughing. That's how bad hell's going to be. I got you. You know, when we sin, you've been there. You thought it would be all of this, what it's cracked up to be, and the moment you do it, you wish you could go. You ever, let's just be honest, you ever wish you could rewind your life 10 minutes and just make a better decision? I do. I felt like that in sermons. Can I take that? Look at what it says. No, no, she cries. Sending me away now, treating me like this now, is worse than what you've already done to me. Like, this is worse. You're going to do me like that and then just don't do it. How many times has she cried out and he just... He shouted for his servant and demanded, throw this woman out and lock the door behind her. I want to get here and then I'll finish. And I know we've got a business meeting. The servant put her out and locked the door behind her. It's a brutal scene. The servant comes in, grabs her. If anybody needs to be locked out, it's Amnon. You imagine going through all of that. She gets pulled by security and thrown out and the door locks. How do you survive that moment? How do you survive that? How in the world do you get up tomorrow and be anywhere semi-okay? You know what you have to believe? That God is radically different than anybody else you know. That God never does you wrong. That God doesn't lock you out. That God cannot be like Amnon. And in that moment, you have to realize that this is what the devil does. But you've got God, and God doesn't shut the door on you. Can you listen? What's ironic is God should shut the door on us, right? I mean, there's been times where God should shut the door and be like, we're done here. But he doesn't. And in that moment, you've got to know who God is, because if you don't, it's over. You can't, look, there's no like help in the world that can overcome what she's just gone through. The only way she's ever going to be okay is the Spirit of God speaking to her and her understanding it and believing it. I mean, what are you going to say to her? Imagine trying to comfort Tamar and not talk about God. Go and comfort Tamar and say it's going to be okay, but don't talk about anything spiritual. You know what you have? Nothing. There is flowers won't do it. A hug won't do it. They have their places, but you know what she needs? She needs God to speak to her and say, I'm here. I'm here. And I won't lock the door on you. And look at what it says. She was wearing a long, beautiful robe, as was the custom in those days for the king's virgin daughters. This is part of the shame. Part of the shame is, hey, excuse me, why are you not wearing that dress anymore? How many times do you think she wanted to retell that story? That's part of her shame. What happened when she doesn't wear that dress anymore? Everybody knows what that means. But now Tamar tore her robe, and she put ashes on her head. And then with her face in her hands, she went away, what? And here it is, and I'll finish here. Man, when I listened to someone else, and they were talking about, and it really kind of, I thought that's what it meant, but when he started talking about it, I realized that's, her brother Absalom saw her. Okay, hold on. What has he seen? He's seen his sister, his full sister, crying with ashes on her head and a ripped robe. That's all he's seen. He hasn't been in the room. Nobody's told him anything. She's come out, she's crying, and she runs into Absalom, and he says, is it true that what? In other words, when he saw her like that, what did he know? He knew what had happened. Why did he know it happened? Because he knew what Amnon was like. You know why? Because you can't be that dude and people not know what you're like. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like in the guise of grace and being kind to people and loving to people, we'll watch people in church spiral and we won't say anything because that's uncomfortable. And yet, you know, Absalom is basically saying, I kind of figured that Absalom, why didn't you say something? Like, why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you do something? Like, I imagine being like, well, I knew that guy was going to kill someone someday. Well, I mean, imagine doing like, I knew that guy was crazy, but I didn't want to upset him. Well, hold on, Absalom. You should have said what? You should have told David, don't let them be around each other. And when he makes that request, guess what David can say? It says, Absalom saw her. Is it true that Amnon has been with you? And Absalom plays it off. But already from that moment, Absalom knows what he's going to do. You know what he's going to do? Kill his brother. Kill his brother. In these last few chapters, who's winning? But you see, we've got to be able to somehow help each other. Like, you know what one of the most loving things to do is? I'm worried about you and this is why. You know what? People can get mad. People can run out. People can do what they want. But when this happens, don't you wish you had been the one that said, I tried to tell you? Like, how do you live with yourself knowing that if you had said something, it might not have happened? I want to be the person that's like, I tried to tell you. That's why I said something. Oh, people won't appreciate it, maybe. They won't. But man, this story has so many like issues with it and so much different. Yeah.
If someone comes to you like this,
Uh-huh.
and you don't go to prayer and sit down and communicate with them, then you're letting them down.
Yep.
You're not just walking away. I'm saying it takes a lot for that person to come to you in the first place. And it's important that you don't turn your back on them.
I agree. Like I said, I don't know what the answer is. This has got my head spinning. But we've got to try and help one another. Absolutely. That's wild. He sees her crying and he's just like, that's Amnon, isn't it? I mean, he knew. He knew. He knew. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts before we pray and then